Our big conversation today is all about medical mysteries. As many of us well know, nothing is more important than your health. Imagine you're told your child is sick, but doctors simply don't know why. It would be so agonizing to try to understand what's going on and how to make the situation better. Or imagine you're diagnosed with a condition that is so rare there's no clear treatment and no cure. It's a feeling of utter helplessness that no one should have to experience, and our guests today understand that all too well. We begin with a young woman who was never supposed to make it to her first birthday.
My name is Hunter Steinitz, and I'm 19 years old. When I was born, the room went silent. I had thick skin plaque all over my body, restricting movement, restricting breathing. My eyes and mouth were inverted. All the doctors could say is something is not right. They didn't know what they were looking at. Within the first few days to weeks to months, my parents were told Harlequin Ichthyosis, a genetic skin disorder in which the skin fails to produce enough fatty acids that bind your skin cells together. As a result, the skin gets much thicker. Within the US, there are about 10 to 15 known living cases with Harlequin Ichthyosis. My generation are the oldest survivors to date. Growing up definitely wasn't easy. Whenever I would walk into a classroom, I would be met with stares, whispers, points, glances. They would call me names, and that was a constant thing, an everyday occurrence. I couldn't understand what I had done to justify this. They said that I would die in infancy. I'm 19 and going strong. Every instance that they've said that I wouldn't make it, I thrived.
Please welcome Hunter Steinitz. Hi, Hunter. So nice to see you. And I'm so impressed by your incredible spirit and your positive outlook on everything. How do you keep yourself so up, Hunter?
That all comes from my parents. It comes from mom and dad, who from an early age had me out and talking to people and being around. And it also comes from FIRST, which is the Foundation for Ichthyosis and Related Skin Types that we found when I was young. And they work as a support network for families affected by ichthyosis. And my parents, along with FIRST and the whole ichthyosis community, really give me that extra, friend in my little corner.
Which is wonderful because the community is so small, right? Very few people are diagnosed with this disorder. And I understand you don't like the term disease, but you prefer disorder. Why is that?
The word disease has a weird connotation to it. When people think disease, they think Black Plague or something. They think something that's contagious and negative. But that doesn't really apply to what I have. It's a genetic mutation, so it's in no way, shape, or form contagious, and disease doesn't describe what it is.
I know that you have a daily routine, and there are certain things you have to do all the time to keep your disorder under control.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of those things.
Well, in the morning before I wake up or before I go anywhere, I have to be up about 2 hours before any of that, because I need to spend about an hour to an hour and a half in a tub soaking in order to exfoliate, get that extra layer of skin off, and to let moisture in. And then from there, out of the tub, apply lotion to sort of seal in that moisture, so that as I go through the day, that moisture lasts longer. And then as the day progresses, depending on when I need it, I reapply that lotion to necessary areas to keep it moving.
Because I guess it can be dangerous because you have a propensity to develop blisters that can get infected, and that can be very serious for you.
The way my skin works, I can't sweat. The extra layers of skin cover up my pores, so that when sweat glands release that sweat, it becomes trapped underneath those top layers and form those blisters. So rather than evaporating and actually allowing me to cool off, that heat gets trapped. And that heat and that moisture get trapped, and whenever that happens, I have to pop those or else it gets funky.
Is that painful for you?
It can be. I'm not gonna lie. Whenever those occur, they're typically on the palms of my hands and the bottoms of my feet. And whenever I get those, it kind of feels like I'm walking on hot coals.
The other thing that comes with this disorder is you're constantly hungry because your body is burning so much energy, I understand, to develop your skin. Is that right?
Yeah, I overproduce skin cells to make up for what my skin doesn't have. And so in that constant need to replenish the skin layers, it eats away at my calories. So, you know, I'm constantly hungry, needing to eat things in order to maintain that balance.
Dr. Lisa Sanders is here. She writes a column that I happen to love for the New York Times called Diagnosis, and she's the author of Every Patient Tells a Story, Medical Mysteries and the Art of Diagnosis. Dr. Sanders, Hunter, I think, was very lucky, wasn't she, that there was a smart doctor in the hospital that diagnosed her shortly after she was born. But the real medical mystery is that they don't know what causes this or really what to do about it, right?
Well, I think recently, like within the last several years, the genetics of this have become more clear to scientists. But having said that, I think we're still at the very beginning of treating it. You know, she's in this first generation of survivors. That meant all the other children born before died within days. And so we've really come a long way in figuring out how to deal with some of the complications of this disease and maybe even some of the problems, the ongoing daily problems.
It's hard to get research dollars, though, and to get attention paid to disorders like Hunter has when the population is so limited. I'm often, you know, asked by various people representing different disorders or diseases, you know, we need funding, we need attention, we need research. But you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it's hard when the numbers are so small.
I guess it is hard for that few people to make a big, loud squeak. But I think some of the things that are developed for other diseases can be applied here. I think that there have been technologies and treatments that are useful for other things, but it takes a tremendous amount of money to develop drugs. I'm sure that's an old story, and it turns out to be true and hard to get around.
And Hunter, you have faced some challenges yourself, because I understand there is a medicine that would alleviate your symptoms or help you deal with this, and yet it's just too expensive.
Yeah, the type of drug we're talking about is a vitamin A supplement that would help to replenish some of the things my skin doesn't make. And the issue with that, I was on it for a little while, but my coverage for it dwindled. And so I wasn't able to afford it. And it became more of a, is this really necessary kind of thing? And it turned out to be more of what it would do for me in terms of how it would help me was more cosmetic. It would have lessened the amount of redness and scaliness, but it wouldn't really offer a long-term solution. So we sort of decided it would be sort of better long-term to sort of stop that.
The other challenge that you faced, and I was so heartbroken to hear this, is your mom passed away 3 years ago from pancreatic cancer. And I know that she was the real driving force behind making sure that you had life experiences like other kids.
She was my advocate in every sense. She worked to make sure that any problems we had or anything that became an obstacle was met, and that my needs were met, and that I lived as normal a childhood as possible.
Well, she did an amazing job, as did your dad, Mark, and he's here today as well. Mark, you know, you must be so proud of Hunter, because I think she's dealing with this with such grace and such dignity. And she really attributes that to you and your wife.
Well, I give a lot of credit to Hunter in particular, but I'm very proud of the way that Hunter and her sister Dana both exhibit Patty's determination. And that determination is what led us to the organization first, which was really the lifeline for us in those early years when survival was really questionable. And it has now turned into Hunter making wonderful choices. Westminster College is a place where she now goes to school, and there's a lot to be proud of.
Obviously, clearly. Are you optimistic, Hunter, that scientists will be able to come up with something that may help you deal with this situation?
I think in the future, so long as research is able to be funded and carried out, I think eventually we'll get there. You know, we found this specific mutation a couple years back, and ever since then, research has sort of been stunted on my specific type of ichthyosis. But as we go forward and are able to learn more and find out more, I think that we'll eventually get to some sort of stability where we can find, okay, this treatment works. Let's implement this. And, you know, eventually we'll come up with a cure, maybe. But I feel like, you know, people say to me all the time on the street, you know, I tell them what I have, they go, oh, I'm so sorry. And I say to them, no, don't be sorry for me, don't pity me, that's not what I want. I want people to see this and to go, okay, she had this obstacle to get over, she did. How do I do that in my life? How do I implement that for myself?
Hunter, thank you so much, and
Thank
good luck
you.
with everything.
Thank
so
you
nice
so
to
much.
meet you.
Hey,
Love
I
talking
have
to you.
something for you.
Oh, that's right. I want to mention, as Hunter's dad, Mark, said, Hunter is a student at Westminster, and that's a school in Pennsylvania, and she went to the bookstore to buy me this Westminster teddy bear. So I wanted to show everybody and to thank you so much. That was so sweet of you.